we now have an Insight On supported by data, a panel moderated by Ondrilla Fernandes. So you can come up on stage together with the panel, Mrs. HK Joshi, Mohammed Hajee, Capt. Karthik, Kaylee Murphy, Kathryn Neilson, Her Excellency Dr. Omaimah Bamasag. So welcome.
So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ondrilla Fernandes, and I'm working in employer relations with ICS. And one of my main responsibilities is to progress the diversity agenda in the shipping industry. I would like to welcome all our panelists and everyone attending the SheEO conference online and in person. And during this session, we aim to talk about data and best practices to help the maritime industry improve diversity and inclusion. So before I hand it over to the panelists, I'd like to talk about the work that ICS has done in this sector. So we have 2 years back, we launched a diversity charter, and this is basically a tool, a free tool for industry leaders to find out where they stand in the diversity life cycle. And once you've kind of done that, in conjunction with that, we've recently launched, actually this month, we are launching the Diversity Toolkit. And this toolkit is going to give us a better understanding of what diversity really is. It gives us practical tools to fill up the gaps and to create awareness and inspire change in strategies, policies, and practices. The few of the topics that we currently cover are recruitment and retention, gender, religion, health and safety. We also highlight the fact that industry collaboration is necessary for lasting change to take place. So now I'm just going to hand it over to the panelists, and I'm just going to start with Kathryn Neilson because she's side of me.
Thank you, everybody. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. I've had such a wonderful welcome from everybody. It's my first time in Mumbai, and it's been mind-blowing, so thank you all. You can imagine that the challenges we've been facing since COVID have been quite dramatic, impact-wise, on our recruitment of our cadets. And I work for the Merchant Navy Training Board. I'm the director there, and I work within the UK Chamber of Shipping. And one of our biggest challenges is in the last 5 years, our cadet numbers have dramatically dropped. Probably more recently, because of COVID, they've dropped 50%. And you can imagine that's going to leave an enormous skills gap in our UK market for our seafarers. So we've had to really rapidly think how we are going to recruit more people into the industry, and particularly women. And we've got a lot of challenges with recruitment with our cadets. So what we've had to do is we've had to take a real serious look at some of the issues why we're not attracting women. And one of the biggest and most painful things is that there's a lot of sexual harassment goes on board many of our vessels, and it's still impacting our young female cadets. And unfortunately, word of mouth spreads very quickly and is putting a lot of people off, and it's tragic, really. And what we're asking our UK ship owners is very much to call out bad behavior. Don't remove the cadet off the vessel when something has happened to the cadet. And it's not just females, by the way, it's males as well. Don't just remove the cadet off the ship. You know, let's deal with these issues head on and advertise the fact that you are actually dealing with it. Because if young females understand that people are taking them seriously, we can get something done. And it's about calling out bad behavior. And that applies to everybody in the room. You know, many, many times, I'm sure you've all turned a blind eye to maybe a comment that's been made that's slightly inappropriate to a young female. We're asking everybody, because you can do that right now. You know, if you see anybody or hear anybody making an inappropriate comment to a young female, please call it out. You don't have to be rude about it. You can just pull that person up. And more often than not, it's somebody that you know, somebody that you work with. So we can do that now. We don't have to wait for any policies to be developed. We can all take full responsibility for our own actions. So I urge everybody to call bad behavior out. And that's my message to everybody today. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And I'm just going to pass the same question on to Mrs. HK Joshi.
So I've I have been the former chairperson of the largest national shipping company of India, that is the Shipping Corporation of India. And we've all, since the topic for today's discussion is data and best practices in diversity. So there's enough data which has proven that if there are women in leadership roles, and I borrow that if you sit through the entire day of all the panels and all the speakers, you will find so much of commonality because the facts remain the same. So it's very important to have women in leadership positions, because I think the Ramakrishna family did talk about it, that it has to be top down. So until and unless there are women in leadership positions to make a difference, both to the policy within the organization as well as be there visually visible as role models for the aspiring other women out there. So that is my first point, that it's very important. But then I don't consider that women or a leader alone can succeed. It's always a team together who's working very efficiently and effectively. So if we say that corporates which have got diverse boards do very well, and we saw that in the pandemic also, that the countries which were headed by women more effectively and efficiently managed the pandemic. So I think it's quite proven that women in leadership roles do perform, but then they don't perform alone. It's always a team working there. So if there has to be diversity at the board level, I think it's very important that there has to be diversity in every team, at every level in the organization. Until and unless there is a complete diversity across the length and breadth of the organization, the true essence of diversity will not be met. And as Indrani has already talked about 3 best practices, so since we are also talking about best practices, there is going to be a repetition on that also, that organizations, if they want to have best practices on diversity, it's very important that they create the right type of an environment. They have the right type of policies in place to ensure that they encourage women to come and join them. And safety is definitely a big no compromise. So until and unless there are safe working environment, it will never be possible for a woman to be able to give her best. If we are talking about equality, then equality of the environment in terms of safety is very essential for the woman to be able to contribute effectively and efficiently towards the productivity. Otherwise, she will not be able to give the best. I can talk so much, but I think I'll wait and come for the second round. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm just going to pass on the mic to Dr. Omaimah.
Good afternoon all. Thank you very much, Maritime SheEO, for the invitation. And thank you very much, Sanjam and the team, for organizing such a wonderful event and a conference. Myself and my team have been enjoying the sessions and the wonderful discussions with esteemed speakers and all the ideas that had been thrown. And we have just been discussing a list of them and how to implement them when we go back to Saudi Arabia. So Transportation General Authority, where I came from, is the regulator of the land, rail, and maritime transportation in Saudi Arabia. One of its important mandate is to support localization and human capacity building with a special focus of women enablement. This is to fulfill Vision 2030 strategy of Saudi Arabia to increase women participation and penetration in the national economy by developing their talents and provide them with the right opportunities to build their future. We are actually seeing the results of the vision by the percentage of women participation in the workforce in Saudi Arabia has been increased from 17% in 2016 to almost 33% in 2022. Looking at the international landscape of the naval force in the world, has been mentioned this morning and this afternoon, with amount of 1.2 million seafarers, of whom women constitute only to 2%. With this small proportion includes women working in all jobs in maritime transport sectors, from seafarers to a few senior executives. But nevertheless, many women have succeeded in breaking this barrier and entering the field and gaining great appreciation. I'll give some examples as of the session, data and diversity. A few examples of the women enablement in Saudi Arabia. In the maritime and sea sectors. His Royal Highness Princess Sarah Al Saud is the first Saudi female maritime captain. The first Saudi woman was graduated as Marine Navigator Officer in 2017. Almost 100 women were trained in King Abdullah Port to be managed by them, as it is the first vital port at the national level. A number of maritime departments and colleges have recently been opened to receive those wishing to join the work in the maritime field. TGA has recently approved 5 institutes and colleges to provide training and certificates in maritime, available for both women and men and women equally. The Kingdom has also updated its bylaws to achieve equity in the employment opportunities for both sexes and enact legislation that helps create an appropriate work environment. The Kingdom has issued a decision to adopt an annual Maritime Day to celebrate the women working at sea. The Kingdom has also participated in the establishment of the Arab Women's Association in Maritime Sector, Omaimah, which is a platform that brings together women in the region. And it is headed by Ms. Wijdan Sahibani, the Director of the Brand and Communication at Bahri Group, who is the President of the association so far. So with this, we could see there's a lot of things happening, a lot of work that's happening in Saudi Arabia to enable women to get into the workforce, especially in the workforce of maritime. And with Saudi Arabia being a young country, 70% of the population is under the age of 35. So we have high hopes for the future, and we will be seeing more examples to break the ceiling barrier of the leadership and participation of women in Saudi Arabia. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that. And I'm just going to ask Captain Karthik to proceed.
Yeah, good evening. Hope I'm audible. First of all, I'd like to thank Sanjam for inviting me to be here in the panelist. Best diversity practices is not something now in our university, that is Academy of Maritime Education and Training, but it's been there in place for the last 2.5 decades. And I would like to give my appreciation and support for Maersk, who are giving their full-arm support with us over the last 2.5 decades, just to ensure that our thoughts, words, and deeds are aligned with what we say and what we do. So on this note, I'm very happy that recently we have got a culture and capability manager who is right now in this, Captain Arvind Shankar, to look after us. And most importantly, as a part of our best diversity practices, I'd like to name a few. There is quite a lot. I'm very proud to say that we have the maximum number of girl cadets to our fold across the length and breadth of our nations. I would like a big round of applause for that. The number is not less. It is 86, and 96% of them are currently placed. And because of our conscious campaign, in the last 2 years alone, we have seen a marked spike in the admissions of girl cadets, over 70%, I could say. And as a part of our diversity, equity, and inclusive campaign, we give the girl cadets a lot of support just to ensure their voice is being heard and there is a sense of belongingness. So how is it? Our girl cadets are part of our student council. We give them leadership roles there, where they're able to suggest and able to execute their actions with the full support of the university. That is number one. Number two, the girl cadets are there in one of the mess committee meetings. It is there where they discuss and decide the various aspects of food, healthy, nutrition, all these things. So they're also there. And one of the most highest council of any university, which is called as the academic council, there we have, as a part of our student members, girl cadets are there. So like this, we try to get in the women cadets at all these levels just to ensure that there is a sense of belonging. And beyond this, our girl cadets are performing at very impressive levels in the National Cadets Corps. In the last 2 years alone, our cadets have taken very adventurous camps across the length and breadth of the country, and they've taken, it just shows that there is a grit within them, not only to grow in their career, but to glow in their career. This is a part of the gender, as Indrani Chatterjee has very well said. Diversity is just not limited to gender. It goes beyond that. It is sex, it is sexual orientation, ethnicity, nationalism, and so many things. So on this note, I would like to say, we have a Center for International Relations, which is catering to over 500 cadets from 10 different nations. So what we do in this, we have students from Angola, we have students from Nigeria, we have students from Djibouti, from West Asia Gulf, from Southeast Asia. So what we do as a part of our practice, we celebrate their Independence Day. The cadets come, they perform in their ethnic dress, they try to narrate the story of the struggle for independence. This passes a very message of unity and diversity. And I'm very proud to say, the mantra in Academy of Maritime Education and Training is respect diversity. And this is what we inculcate right from the beginning. I'm very, very proud to say that in the last 5 years alone, we have given scholarship worth over 5 crores. And in this, over 350 cadets, a majority of them girl cadets, have taken benefit. The scholarship is given under various criteria. It is for the single parent, it is for the single girl child, it is for the meritorious students, the underprivileged, and one exclusive scholarship under the name of our founder chancellor, Dr. J. Ramachandran, which is for the well-performing and underprivileged cadet, where there is a full waiver of the fees is given. So totally for the year of study, let it be a 3-year degree course or a 4-year degree program or a 6 months program, a complete waiver of the fees is being given. So these are some of the things what we do, and I'm very proud to say we have a gender diversity and a disable friendly and a bias free campus. So that is our policy, where we try to bring in some sort of inclusiveness. Well, gender sensitive try to create awareness. Through equity, we try to provide fair growth, fair opportunity, and by inclusiveness, we try to foster the growth of the girl cadets. And beyond this, there are quite a lot of things which I would like to share, but I'll wait for the next round to come in. Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you for that, and I'm going to pass it on to Mohammed, and like to hear from you.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank Sanjam and the organizers of the conference for inviting me here to speak on this panel. And it's a little pressure to follow such senior people in the industry. But from a corporate perspective, I would like to say that there is a very fine line between making your staff feel special and at the same time feel equal. And as Indrani Chatterjee highlighted in her speech, that there is a definite unconscious bias that we live in our Indian culture. There's no denying in that. That is definitely there. And the very fact that we as an organization have to identify that there is a bias and then take conscious effort to try to improve on that. So yes, having diversity could be based on gender, it could be based on ethnicity, religion, and it has to be inculcated from top down. But at the same time, I think having even the smallest of changes in the organization from the bottom-up approach also goes a very long way. I'll just give one example. We talked about having safety in the workplace environment. Joshi ma'am highlighted that. So yes, it is very important based on the gender of our employees. There should be special privileges and considerations given in terms of the safety and the allocation of the working environment of our staff. But one thing that goes unnoticed is also about the safety of the job security, safety of the growth in the career. And that is something which we in our organization have made a small effort to change. Apart from having safety at the workplace and equality of our PPE and having separate accommodation for our staff, our technical staff, is one unconscious bias that lies in a lot of companies is the fact that our women staff goes on maternity leave for long periods of time. and that might impact the work of the company. So one conscious effort that we made in targeting this bias is whenever we have any of our staff members going for a leave, we celebrate it in our organization all across our locations, so that when an employee is actually going on a maternity leave, they don't feel bad. They don't feel that, oh, I'm leaving the workplace and there is something, that I'm going to be not contributing to the company. In fact, it is a matter of celebration, and you have to make our staff feel special. So in that sense, it is a small change that has a, from the bottom approach, but we have felt that it goes a very long way, because we've had our staff members come back to us and say that, you didn't need to do that, but that really, took a bigger load away from our shoulders, and now we are happy and we are going, and we look forward to coming back and contributing even more to the organization. So this is one example that I would like to give. In addition to that, we have made a conscious effort to increase the diversity of our organization. I am belonging to the SHM group of companies, and we are an organization that build boats and do maritime services on ships. So yes, the majority of our staff, because of the nature of our work, are male. There is no denying in that. But we have made a conscious effort that from the start, where we recruit our staff members from colleges and universities, we make it a point to encourage all backgrounds of students, may they be male, female, whatever backgrounds that are there. We have to be very clear in our communication that no matter what the gender is, no matter what the diverse background is, there is an opportunity for you in the company, and there is a scope of growth in the company. We are also an equal opportunity employer, and this has helped us over the last 3 years in increasing the female workforce in our organization 3 times. So, and now the next target, as Ritesh also mentioned in his dialogue, is that we need to encourage more women into the leadership roles of the company, and that is what we have planned to do. And it is my hope that the women that fill the leadership positions come from within the organization and have grown within the organization, as that would give more confidence to our other team members that they have the equal opportunity to grow and excel as compared to anybody else in the organization. Thank you.
I want to thank all the panelists for all their insightful contribution. And if anyone wants anything else to add, yes.
I'd just like to make a small note of what Mohammed just said, that when you have women in the organization, and considering that there are certain special needs as well as there are biological differences, and that's not anything doing of the human being themselves, but that's something which is God-given. So I don't think organizations should really think that they are giving special privileges or benefits to women. I think that is a mindset which brings in discrimination and heartburning for the other employees in the organization. So I would say there have to be healthy policies for growth of all employees within the organization, and there have to be policies in place which are not discriminatory at all. These are biological needs, so these are not special benefits, because this is the minimal that is required. And when I'm talking about policies, it's again because of safety. Because of the biological differences, there is an insecurity to women. And if a woman is always bothered about her security, she will never be able to contribute and perform. So her mind has to be totally free from that aspect to be able to give her best. So the point I'm trying to make is it has to be a company policy, it has to be a company culture, but it should never be labeled as a privilege or a benefit. And I don't think women today are asking for concessions, because they are able to perform at an equal platform. And Mohammed, you will very well know my own case. So I think I outperformed the organization and all my previous CMDs despite the pandemic. And I didn't ask for any concession. In fact, I got the worst. And I also got multiple charges, which none of my other, and that too in the pandemic. So I don't think women are looking for concessions. That is a mindset which should change.
Thank you for that. Oh, yes.
Sorry, I'd just like to say that statistics and data have clearly shown that when women, fully trained officers, want to have a family and they find out they're pregnant, obviously, in many, many cases, it's not safe for them to be on board their ships. So we're losing an enormous amount of skill and talent. And we're really working very hard with our ship owners to develop a more flexible approach to manning. And it's actually working. They're finding that they're attracting women back into the industry, which is amazing because there's so much talent and they don't see a way through that. And you know, men as well, it's applying to a lot of men who want to have a little bit more of a flexible approach to their working life balance. So yeah, we're seeing a lot of work going on in the crewing side, so that's quite positive. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, go on.
Just following up on the same line of discussion about women enablement and how to bring them more to the workforce. It's not just about how we bring them and how to, I think the question is how to retain them. Retaining women in the workforce has a lot of issues and a lot of factors to be considered. For example, as my colleague has just mentioned, it is about the biological differences. So we have to make sure that the work environment is suitable for women in terms of like in ships or in offices. We have to address this, and we have to address the needs of mothers, and we have to have nurseries in the workforce. And we have to consider the maternity leaves as well. And we have to provide all the factors that surrounding the needs of the woman so that they could be retained and could actually success and flourish in their work environment. Not to think about all these obstacles and not to be busy with just sorting out family issues or other things. So, and also legislations for discrimination and for safe environment for women to work. With this, I believe we will see a lot of differences.
Thank you for that. And
yeah, I would like to second what Omaimah said. See, we are talking about women enrollment into seafaring. Well, good. At the entry level, there are a lot of cadets who are enrolling. But if you see how many of them are actually reaching the culmination of the career, let it be becoming a master mariner or a chief engineer, the sustainability rate is very low. It is just about a decimal percentage. We need to actually identify what is the reason for it. Just take for example, 20 to 30 years is the prime age for career development in any adult. But at the same time, 20 to 30 years is the prime fertility period for a woman. And if a woman goes to plan for 2 children, in a row, 6 years of her career takes a dig. So we need to clearly and consciously take a thought that a cadet who is joining, let it be a male cadet and a girl cadet, a female cadet, the two are taking the career choice at the same time. Are they seeing the culmination of the career at the same pace? Or is anyone going up and the other one is exiting from the career due to any reasons? It is this one reason because of which we are not able to see sustainability of maritime or women seafarers at the culmination. That's why we are still unable to cross the decimal percentage margin. So what can we do for this? This is a conscious thought which we need to address. So this comes at various levels. First, at the maritime women level itself. The speaker who spoke in the forenoon, I didn't get her name, the razor car driver, she said very nicely, when you want to put a system in place, we need to have a self-belief. Here in our campus, through our gender sensitivity and gender awareness, Mr. Nakul Malhotra told very nicely 3 C's. But I call for a seafaring profession, you need to forgo 4 F's, not forever, for a brief period. What are these 4 F? Your family, your friends, your favorite food, and your festivals. If you are able to forgo this 4F for a brief time, you get 2F, a fortune and a future. So this is something which women seafarers have to internalize. Once this is managed and internalized, I'm sure they will not surrender their career for childbearing or sustenance of family or whatsoever it may. definitely they have the courage and confidence to find an alternative method. So this is one thing which they need to really address. I think if you're able to grow up through this challenge, we can sustain our women seafarers at a higher levels. So at various points of level, I feel that we need to develop policies at the local, regional, and global level, where women who are taking breaks due to maternity leave or try to be kept in the mainstream through some parallel responsibilities, so that when they come back, they are not given a backseat saying that you lost the experience, so you need to go at a lower order or something like that. They need to be kept in the mainstream so that they are able to cope up and they are running abreast and not losing their experience. So they are able to be given a very responsible portion when they return back. So this is one thing which we need to consciously address, because I see that we speak a lot, but this point is very feebly addressed. I feel that a lot of policies which are friendly for women, empowering them, if they are put in place and efforts are being taken, I feel really we can improve the position of women, especially at the level of management, and we can facilitate them to see the culmination of the career. Because I see they come through the operational level, and exactly when they come at the management level, they try to enter into a shore portion. They're unable to climb through that and really take command and steer the ship, or able to get their engines done as a chief engineer. So these things they need to internalize, and we need to be very friendly, develop policies to address this gap. I think if this is done, the purpose of this conference is fulfilled. Thank you. Cheers again.
Thank you. Is anyone else wants to say anything? I'm just going to thank all the panelists for all their contributions. And thank you, Sanjam, for having us today as well.
I would like to end up with one more quote. This is a quote by Aristotle, but I'd like to tweak it for the ladies here. I know of no more encouraging facts than the unquestionable ability of a woman to elevate her life by conscious endeavor. Let me repeat it. I know of no more encouraging facts than the unquestionable ability of a woman to elevate her life by conscious endeavor. May God bless you all. Thank you.